Now then, put the legs out, summer's here. Now then, welcome to another episode from Vinyl Monkey. This is the second and final part of my Gems from the Attic. I said a dozen albums, it's actually 11 that I pulled out of his collection that's festering away up in his attic at the moment. And if you thought last week's were interesting, they were sort of loosely based around the Canterbury scene, then this week's are just out of this world. I'm not sure if I've ever held up a more brilliant half dozen albums in all of the 100 and odd 200 videos I've made so far. So anyway, this is a treat really. That was Can, Hallelujah, the long 18-minute track from side 2 of their album Tago Mago, which I'm going to come on to talk about. But as usual, I'm going to go through these half a dozen gems from my friend's attic in chronological order. So to start with, I suppose you've got to say this is an incredible album. This is Frank Zappa's debut album. This is Freak Out. It's a double album, which back in 1966 when this came out was absolutely unheard of. I mean, it's just so precocious, bold to make your debut album a double album. It was only the second album, I think, in the sort of rock pop world. It was only the second ever double album. I think Blonde on Blonde was released a week or so before this, but Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, Freak Out, 1966. And this is a sort of some sort of loose concept, cynical take on American pop culture. It goes from really the first couple of sides, a sort of take-off, sort of piss takes probably more accurately describes them, of various pop rock styles from doo-wop to blues rock. And then the album works its way through, and by the time you get to side 4, it's a sort of an attempt to full-on avant-garde music, concrete, on the single track. I'm looking for the track listing. Side 4, the return of the son of Monster Magnet, Susie Cream Cheese, and all that sort of stuff. So it's an incredible album. It's a sort of groundbreaking album. It's a unique album, and I suppose it signalled the way forward for Frank Zappa. And I really struggled with it. I hated listening to it, actually. I hated it. I'm not keen on piss taking in art. I think piss taking's great down the pub. It's okay on the telly, have I got news for you and that. I'm not keen on it as a sort of an MO in art really. If Frank was still alive and seeking out my advice, I'd say, you got some interesting ideas there, Frank, but stick to the music, Leave your own cynical, twisted sort of thoughts locked inside your own head. But that's me. I've never been able to get away with Frank Zappa. Some interesting stuff, a really interesting album. Freak Out, Frank Zappa, Mothers of Invention, 1966. The next one, you couldn't get much further towards the other end of the spectrum. This is beautiful. This is serious jazz rock fusion. This is John McLaughlin, Extrapolation from 1969. This is John McLaughlin before he went to the USA and made his name with Miles Davis and Mahavishnu Orchestra and all that. And here he's working with British musicians. principally John Sermon, the brilliant baritone sax player who features really large on this album. I mean, arguably his baritone sax and to some extent the bass, Brian Hodges' bass, are more up front than John McLaughlin's guitar. Even, but this is superb stuff. It's a superb sounding album. The sort of acoustics, the dynamic sort of range coming out of the speakers, just absolutely brilliant. It's a jazz rock fusion classic. It's meditative, it's beautiful. It's an essential, really. I've got to get this. I mean, I'll only end up being able to get a copy of it, obviously, but I haven't got this in my collection, but I'm determined to put that right. John McLaughlin, Extrapolation from 1969. The next one, this is also from 1969. This is Nico. What a photo that is, isn't it? What a dark gothic sort of photo. This is the Marble Index. This is Nico's second album. After she left working with the Velvet Underground, she made a sort of a fairly poppy, accessible album, which she was singing other people's material largely, I think. But this is the first album of hers which is her own material, and God, is it dark. She must have been in a really, really dark place. It's not only dark, it's harrowing. It verges on the unlistenable. I think I read a couple of the critics online after I'd watched it, and one of them said, you know, you might not be able to listen to this album, but you should try. It's bleak both lyrically and musically. It's sort of, the whole soundscape is based on an out of tune harmonium. John Cale is all over it. This is John Cale at his most sort of avant-garde, out there. One of those critics I read said art is not there to cheer you up, and that one should make the effort to listen to this stuff. I mean, there's no doubt of its influence on some later directions in rock and goth music, but the Marble Index, fascinating, almost unlistenable. Yeah, the brilliant Nico from 1969. The next one, this is a cracker as well. I'd never heard of this band, or I'd forgotten about them, or whatever. I have vague memories of seeing that cover back in record shops back in the day. This is Nucleus from 1970. The album's called Elastic Rock. This Nucleus are a band, sort of another jazz rock fusion band led by Scottish trumpeter Ian Carr, who went on to later write some acclaimed biographies, Miles Davis, Keith Jarrett, I think. I really, really like this. You've got in the front of the band Ian Carr on trumpet, Carl Jenkins, who also writes quite a bit of material on oboe, piano, baritone, sax, Brian Smith on tenor, Chris Spedding on guitar, Jeff Klein on bass, John Marshall on drums. I'm not sure they did much more than this, actually. I didn't look them up on Wikipedia. I meant to, so I could steal some interesting factoids for you, but I haven't done. So all I know is I really, really love this. It's pioneering stuff. I love the first track on side 2, Torrid Zone, absolutely gorgeous. That's Nucleus, Elastic Rock from 1970. Great cover as well. The next one is the one that's playing in the background. This is Can's Tago Mago. Absolutely stunning, incredible. I had heard Can back in the day, and I'd probably heard this album, and for whatever reason I didn't sort of connect to them. I never got into them, I never started collecting them. But this is just, as I say, absolutely incredible. It's a superb mix of styles. It's one of those albums that's totally out of time. I think if you heard this and you didn't know who it was, you could place it in any decade out of the last 6 or 7 decades, really. It could be anywhere. It's absolutely groundbreaking stuff. The track that's playing, that we played on the intro there, is the side 2, Hallelujah, the 18-minute track. But the whole album is just incredible, and particularly the rhythm section. Holger Kazuke on bass, and I've forgotten the name of the drummer. Well, somebody will tell me. I've forgotten the name, and it's not on the back of the album. But unbelievable album. Again, this is an original, so you know, very rare, I guess, these days. But the sound is fantastic as well. Brilliant stuff. Can Tago Mago from 1971. And then lastly, I'll come to this. This is moving forward in time, jumping right forward almost 20 years to 1990. This is John Cale and Brian Eno under the name Cale Eno. This is Wrong Way Up. This is a very poor cover, I think. It's a shame when it's maybe indicative of the sort of, you know, Thatcherite 80s, 90s, sort of cheap and tatty, using the sort of new technology available badly, I suppose, to create this. Some of those other covers are absolutely fantastic. Anyway, don't dwell on the cover. Think about the actual content, and this is absolutely beautifully layered synthesizer-led sound and vocals. It's catchy, it's poppy, it's sort of sophisticated pop perfection really, and perhaps it's the most accessible album that either of these, you know, they've all got extensive solo catalogues, many of which I've got in this collection behind me, particularly John Cale's, whose voice I absolutely love and whose music I love. But this is perhaps the most accessible work that either of them have ever done. But that's not to say it's not, as I say, sophisticated, that it's not lightweight, it's not throwaway. It's really good stuff. I was really surprised by this, how good it is. Loads of great tracks on it. Lay My Love, I love Cordoba with Cale's vocals, Empty Frame, and we're going to go out with the first track from side 2, which Spinning Away, which I think might have been a single, but anyway, we'll go out with it. I'll just reach over. This is Cale and Eno, Spinning Away, from their 1990 album Wrong Way Up. Oh, I meant to say as well, I had a couple of comments on last week's about how not only were these great albums that, as I say, are festering away in my friend's attic, but they're also rare albums and therefore valuable albums. There's a lot of money's worth of albums I've been through in the last 2 weeks here, and now I know I can talk about this because I know my friend, the friend who I'm talking about, who these records belong to, he would never ever watch YouTube. He's much more culturally highbrow than to ever watch YouTube, so I know I can talk freely about this. And whilst the lad I'm talking about, he's extremely intelligent. He's not perhaps the most streetwise. You know, he's someone who he ponders on the bigger issues in life. He doesn't concern himself with the sort of pounds, shillings and pence and the drollery of day-to-day sort of life that some of us get ground down by. He's operating on a higher level, this lad. So what I thought I'd do is I'll make some sort of philosophical case as to why they shouldn't be festering the loft, and that somebody like me could liberate them I'll offer him 50 quid for the lot. But if you know what I'm talking about, don't tell him, will you? Anyway, back to Cale and Eno, Slipping Away. Beautiful. Spinning away, I said slipping away, spinning away. See you next week. Ta-da!